Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Jefferson Highway Show. This historic highway was formed in 1915 by the Jefferson Highway Association. It runs from Winnipeg, Canada, all the way to New Orleans, Louisiana. Let's go! Welcome, everybody. Can you believe it is the end of February already? That means spring is coming. We want all the snow to melt so we can really start driving the entire Jefferson Highway. So we're excited because we're going to talk about the conference coming up in McAlester, Oklahoma in June, the Sociability Caravan that's happening right before the conference. We're going to talk about some amazing projects happening in Galena, Texas, Kansas, not that we do have Texas on the route, and Northwood, Iowa. So stay tuned. We've got some amazing guests joining us who are doing incredible things on the highway, historic hotels, motels, like a motor court, and this is just so cool. So, of course, we have Roger Bell here, who's the president of the Jefferson Highway, and I encourage you all to go to the website, jeffersonhighway.org, become a member, be part of this historic highway that goes from Winnipeg, Manitoba, all the way down to New Orleans, or you can do it the other way. You can do it as frequent as you want. We want you on the highway all the time, right, Roger? How are you doing?
Sure, I'm doing good. Good to be on here again, Lisa. We have some good guests this evening.
You round up some goodies. I mean, you're good at this stuff.
It always works out.
It does. And I'm like, Roger, we got to do this. And he's like, well, here. We always have all these ideas, and this idea list is insane because it's just so much to cover on the highway, which is part of why we're doing the guide, right? And we're going to do the guide as a frequent publication, more seasonally.
This group tonight, one of the things is, these people are passionate. These people have great projects. They've, great dreams, and they work toward them, and it's so. The future of the highway and is with people like this that have those passions to bring their dreams to reality. And the group, I've been both these locations. We were at our Mason City conference a couple of years ago. We got to visit the work that's going on in the Winterford Hotel there, and they've been working on this project, and they keep making progress, and things just keep going, and it's just really exciting. And Aaron has been a friend for several years, and he's one of he was the first designated tourist center we've had after our tourist center program, and he's always been great on anything we've had to do. He's right on Route 66. He gets people from all over the world visiting. But he's a supporter of Jefferson Highway and has been for several years now. And we just and then he has this great new exciting project that I'm sure we'll hear about this evening. So these are great guests to have on. They all are inspiring to see their passion of what they're putting in to their projects.
It's exciting. It's really exciting because it feels like the highway is alive. Right. Route 66 is everyone's very iconic, right? And iconic in our own country and around the world. But I feel Jefferson Highway is an international highway, crossing over into Winnipeg. And so to me, this is so exciting to see these projects come together. And then, like you're saying, having a tourist center and those are going to pop up more and more, just like the signage program, how that's working. We're going to get to the conference in a little bit, but let's get our guests on the show because we've got to be good hosts. We can't keep them waiting. Besides, some of them have ice cream. We know it. So I'm going to bring Aaron Perry on. Aaron and Cassandra Ringel run Gearhead Curios, which is the Jefferson Highway Tourist Center that we're talking about. And they're also creating the Petrol Motor Court. So first up, Aaron, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, I heard that you have a very photographically friendly, happy bathroom. Is that true?
I do. I give tours of my restroom. I've had 2 travel shows filmed in my restroom, 2 newscasts, and I have done 1 wedding in the restroom so far.
Okay, so can we do a Jefferson Highway podcast in the restroom? We should do it.
We should. We can.
Believe it or
We'll
not,
have to make sure I got video for that.
I have done 2 podcasts in bathrooms before. It's a whole other story.
Really?
But yeah, one outside of Yosemite National Park in a haunted hotel, and everything crashed and burned. Not the hotel, but like things went wonky with electricity and internet, and it was insane what happened. And we did it over Halloween. It was weird. And then the other one was in a hotel in Nacogdoches, Texas, not far from the route, everyone. It's connected to Natchitoches, Louisiana, on the El Camino de Real Tejas. I'm not saying it right. National Historic Trail, but it's connected to Natchitoches, Louisiana, which is on the highway, so not far. And it was just the only way I could do the sound right. So I sat on my butt in the bathroom. Yeah. I think I've probably done another one like that too, but those are the 2. So I think there's a power of 3, a trifecta has to happen of podcasting. So I think
Aaron can get you fixed up, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We can make it happen.
So I actually even, we travel full time, so we always have our own supply of toilet paper. Nobody rob us, please. I'm not carrying eggs anymore, but I do have toilet paper. But this is so cool. Cassandra, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit on your side of what you do with Gearhead Curios and also the Petrol Motor Court. What is your side of the business, and what's Aaron's side of the business?
Well, I actually met Aaron back in March last year. And so Gearheads is all his. He's created. It's an amazing place. I've loved it. But we had like an instant connection, and now we're engaged. And shortly after I met him, he told me about his idea of having a gas station themed motor court. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's awesome. Where should we do this thing? And then in September, he bought the land on Main Street in Galena. And immediately I was researching buildings, gas stations, and started thinking up floor plans. And I was just like, oh my gosh, let's do this. This is so awesome. And initially we're like, well, how many can fit on this block? Because it's the entire block between 3rd and 4th on Main Street. And initially we're like, maybe 7. And then, I seriously had graph paper laid out that is about 10 feet long by about 2 feet wide. I made a little scale of these 7 different places, and we laid it out. I'm like, actually, we can fit more than 7. Let's go to 10. And so it's like, okay, what are the other ones we're going to add? So immediately we knew exactly like the first few that were definitely had to be added. So the first one would be the Phillips 66, the cottage style gas station, which was, I think, built over 500 of those back in about a 10-year time period. And then the other one was a Poly, and that was a gas station from California. The reason we're doing a Poly is that the, oh gosh, now I drew a blank, Green Parrot.
The Green Parrot.
Yeah, Green Parrot was a bar that sat on one of the lots, and it collapsed in because it's undermined in that area, and it collapsed in. So it's kind of a nod to them because the Poly, its logo is a green parrot. So those were the first 2 that instantly was like, okay, we know those 2.
That's kind of retro too, man. I kind of feel like that retro vibe.
Oh, it's definitely retro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, so all 10 stations have a reason why we picked them. Aaron worked at a Chevron when he was in high school. And so that was like, oh, well, let's do a Chevron. And we knew we wanted to do a Batwing.
The 76. So in my 5-year-old brain, almost 6-year-old brain, in 1976, my family went from California to Pennsylvania. Everything was bicentennial. And I remember seeing the Union 76 gas stations. And in my little 5-year-old brain, I thought, hey, next year those Union 76 stations are going to be called Union 77 stations. So because of that childhood memory, I'm like, we have to have a Union 76 station.
Yeah.
That's sweet. Well, now, wait a minute. Now, are all of these cabins going to have bathrooms?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes, and they're going to be mid-century yellow tile, the seafoam tile, the blue tile. So we're on the hunt for any kind of tubs, sinks, and toilets that match that are mid-century, and then the tile for the floors and walls.
Oh, that's fantastic. So people listening, you can go and find Gearhead Curios and Petrol Motor Court on Facebook. Just type it in and you'll find it. The link is in the episode notes. Everyone's links at jeffersonhighway.org is in there. I want to bring our next guest on and we'll talk more about these cabins and also Gearhead Curios and what it's like to set up a tourist center, because I know we have apps, guides, phones, everything, right? We have all this digital stuff, but there's nothing like getting to an actual place that knows about what where you're traveling and having a warm welcome. I know we have so many, self-in check-ins, self-check-ins, whatever you call it, all of that. That's the world of today. But I think when you're on an iconic highway, that warmth, comes from history and hospitality and small town America as well. So we're going to go up north to Northwood, Iowa. And we're going to talk about this nonprofit organization that has really worked to purchase and renovate the historic Hotel Northwood, which was also known as Hotel Winifred and Northwood Hotel. So now it is Waking Miss Winifred. Yes, she's a lady. And I'm going to bring on the president of the nonprofit association. You can go to hotelwinifred.com. They're also on Facebook. So welcome, Julie Very. How are you?
I'm awesome, Lisa. Thank you so much for this opportunity for Hotel Winifred to tell our story to the participants in today's call and for those that are listening.
Yeah, so waking. So it's like, I kind of feel like it's a gentle shaking. Come on, lady. We're going to give you some tea. We're going to, we'll give you breakfast in bed. Like who came up with a waking Miss Winifred?
Well, I'm going to give credit. So that our historian on the call today, the person who made this possible is Mary, and she can tell her story about how her and a team of her peers decided to pursue this after the hotel closed in I think 2015. But it was her team that came up with Waking Miss Winifred. So Mary, do you want to maybe answer that question?
Yeah, everyone. Mary Ryerson Lau is here. We also have Steve Hansen. Steve, how are you doing? He's the VP. Like he's got that VP name. That's cool.
Hi, Lisa.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Exciting to be part of this broadcast. I love the Jefferson Highway Association. We're great. We're really fortunate to be along the route and to have a lot of, we're definitely looking forward to doing a lot more events with the Jefferson Highway Association. That's for sure.
Yeah, because you were part of the conference when they were in Mason City, Iowa.
Yes, that's correct.
2023, right? And so you guys got a tour, Roger. You got the grand tour. We didn't. We needed to go to the conference. Shame on us.
Yeah, well, yeah. You see what you miss, Lisa. You miss all these great places and great folks.
I know.
And, when you go to some place like this, and you can see firsthand all the work and all the passion they have for their project, just hearing them talk about it. It was just a great place. And, both of these communities we're talking about today, Galena and Northwood, they have a great story and they are great Americana communities. Aaron and Sandra touched a little bit about the mining history of that's there in Galena. It's just in Northwood. You're right on the Minnesota border, basically, and it's such a cool downtown area. Really, and this is going to be such a great stop. I'm looking forward to the day that I can check into the Winifred and also Aaron's Petrol Motor Court because it's coming.
I love this because it's two complete opposite styles of lodging. And then you've got to think also the highway had the tourist camps where people car camped, and Nancy and I dig doing that too. But I think what's so interesting too with this Hotel Winifred is these historic hotels, when they were built, it was like looking at the banks in Minnesota, that opulence, right? And that word always comes up. And I think when I was looking at all the pictures and everything, and everyone again, Hotel Winifred, this building was built with like esteem, right? So Mary, welcome to the show. How are you? Give us some history. How are you?
Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're honored to be here and a part of the Jefferson Highway. We received the Carol Algren Preservation Award from them in 2023 when they were at Mason City, and it was just such an honor for us and to be here tonight as well. So our story begins in
And you have a
19.
marker. Wait a minute. You actually have one of the historic markers in front of the
Yes,
hotel, right?
Yes, we
Okay.
do.
Mm. All right.
yes.
You've been
Uh,
marked in a good way. But yeah, tell us of the history. Yeah, it's so exciting about it.
Yeah, Miss Winifred's story began back in 1913 when they needed a hotel. People knew that they needed a place for people to stay if they wanted Northwood to grow and become anything. So the businessmen got together and put together some money and or gave it to a hotelier here in town, who then proceeded to build this hotel, which was named after his daughter. Um, Her middle name was actually Winifred, but was named after her. And it served our community for over 100 years
Mm.
as a hotel continuously. Towards the last 20 years or so, there were a lot of people that stayed there long term, elderly people and so forth. And the lady that had it for the last 50 years took really good care of them and treated them as family. But she still took in her nightlies that would come through. If people that were traveling from Des Moines, regulars that would travel, salesmen and so forth, she would still take, the occasional nightly visitor. So we like to
Mm.
think we're one of the longest continuous running hotels in the state.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And that opulence though, I mean, when she was built, was it so that she stood out? Like we're not just gonna we're really going for it. This is gonna be
Nope. This hotel
community
is
pride.
very much a working man's hotel. It was
Okay.
made for the traveling salesman. And in fact, the basement stairwell that goes down into the basement and the door that comes in from the outside there is, 4 to 4.5 foot wide. It's very wide stairwells
Wow.
and doors because that's where they would take their suitcases and lay out their wares for the shop people to come and do their buying.
Oh, wow. That's a cool setup. I mean, I've
Yeah.
been a traveling salesman for years in different ways, but like in our industry and like if everybody came to see you in one place, that is like that's awesome. So
Yeah.
this was about business, and you've got to think back then in those times, it was really a different kind of. We didn't have email and cell phones, and text messages. Hey, are you coming? We didn't have all that, so it was a big deal when someone actually did come to town, right? With wares that people actually needed, because sales. Listen, sales is all about what people need and fulfilling a need. It's an answer to a problem. And so I always hate it when people like look down on salespeople. Like, no, they're fulfilling and they work their butts off to make things happen. And especially in those days, traveling salesmen, it was not easy like what we have now. It's
No.
different, isn't it?
It certainly is. It certainly is. And if anyone happens to look at the website or our Facebook page, you'll see a picture in there that was of Mr. Larson, the original proprietor. And then there's the traveling salesmen that are there for the night that are sitting around in their rocking chairs. And
Oh,
according to his granddaughter, who is still living, her mom would tell the Winifred would tell the stories about how the salesman would come in and then they had a table that she is actually still using, that they would sit around in evenings and play their cards. And
cool.
yeah, just really neat stories like that. So that was one of the ways it served our community. Other ways was sometimes the local doctors would use it as a hospital bed and bring patients there if they were too sick to transport to
Hmm.
Mason City or Albert Lee. Then they would keep them there so they could keep a closer eye on them. There
Wow.
were yeah, the traveling photographers that would come in, and there was a certain room in that northwest corner that they used because the lighting was so perfect, and they would take the family photos there.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to go to Steve. Steve, can you give us an overview of Northwood, Iowa? Like, what is its main industry, business, agriculture? So that set up some context for us of why this hotel was so, important it seems like, we've stayed in a lot of historic hotels like this, and motor courts are actually really part of that history. And it's motor courts did it well. Hotels like you're talking about, Miss Winifred, having the table outside and the cards. There is a traveling community, and Nancy and I have been in that travel community for years, where you start to know each other if you're doing a specific route. And you're like, all right, I'll get you dinner next time. And, I'm not playing poker with you again because you keep winning. But you kind of, and even traveling nurses are part of this, there's this interesting community of how people go. I don't know. It's like this other family, and it's
Can I
a
kind of
beautiful thing.
interject something here?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, hotels and theaters are something that is very important to communities. People, my hometown, they remember the Grand Hotel that was here, and they remember the theaters they went to. They were so important because so many things happened there. People came and went, and so many things in people's lives happened, banquets or different things happened in these places. They're so important. But the thing about them is, and we've got some in our community or different places I see, you know, their place is not what it was. I mean, we have the chain hotels of America now, and these iconic, historic places like this are few and far between. But the thing about Northwood and this group is this is a grassroots effort to restore one of these great places of a community. That's
Mm.
that's so much what I applaud on this. And I know some communities we know on the route have restored theaters or different places, but uh, it is uh, it is a passionate work, and people when they just go up to these buildings, they can just feel the past. They can feel the community spirit, and uh,
Hmm.
and I think that's just something I thought of when I was hearing Mary talk there.
Yeah. I think that's a thing. And as travelers, you feel where you're welcomed, and that's where you end up living at times too. Steve, can you give us an overview of Northwood, what it's like
Yeah,
as a
absolutely.
community?
It's a sort of like I think part of the reason it became popular on the Jefferson Highway was because it's sort of the last stop from Iowa to Minnesota. And there's a historic mile marker sort of marking the merging of Iowa with the Iowa part of the Jefferson Highway with the Minnesota part of the Jefferson Highway. But Northwood is a very, very sort of agricultural community with families. It has some manufacturing. I think what sort of really makes it beautiful is the historic downtown, where it has a number of properties on the National Historic Register with great architecture. And then it has an adjoining park, which is sort of like you've got Northwood up on this hill, and you have to go down sort of a valley, and you have this very picturesque park, which was known at early on as the Crescent Park. And you've got the Shell Rock River there with a
Wow.
walking path and sort of a very picturesque sort of a view of not only the park but also of the community. It has a couple of walking bridge. It has an old gazebo that at one
Mm.
point used to be a stacked gazebo, but I guess it's now safer. But still, the gazebo's been there for as long as I can remember. I grew up in Northwood, uh,
Oh, cool.
so so it's a very picturesque, very calm town with, what you'd imagine these small towns. What really makes them work is people helping people, and people with really caring for each other. So I've been in Phoenix for the past 20 some odd years, and I came back because I wanted to experience that sort of hometown centric sort of vibe, which you just don't get in big cities anymore. But
Yeah,
it's really attractive because it's, obviously on the Iowa-Minnesota border, so it's kind of like the last stop. You've got this little beautiful idyllic park, great architecture. Uh, so it's really
ice
a fun
cream,
stop.
ice cream, ice cream. You've got ice cream in there. I know you do. I know you do.
Ice
But I
cream.
love the. Obviously, we're going to have to come hang out in your park. That's for sure. As we go back up the highway. And speaking of communities, Aaron, tell us a little bit about Galena, Kansas. For people to understand the vibe of the town and why people should go there.
Well, before I talk about that historic hotel, I'm reminded of a conversation I had with my kids when they were little. They said, "Dad, if you could have any superpower, what would it be?" And most people like invisibility, flight, or something. My kids go, "Dad, we've assigned you yours, the ability to talk to an inanimate object." And can you imagine if you could talk to that hotel?
Oh,
Heck yeah.
yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, how
You'd have the
cool would
town
that be to
gossip.
walk in there and say, "Tell me your story. Who stayed in this room?" The
Yeah.
stories that that place could tell you. Would that not just be the most amazing thing?
Well, salespeople get the town gossip. Like as I was traveling the country, like Southwest specifically, when we were in print, a print magazine, man, you'd go into the back room of the restaurant. You were doing business in just different atmospheres, and you would know the gossip. Did you know so and so down the road did this? Oh, no, it was it, and salespeople know everything. And when they're staying in the hotel, when they're playing cards, they were gossiping. Men and women,
Oh,
everyone. Men did
well,
it.
that's a good lead too for Galena. When I moved down there, I bought the old Texaco station, and I was across the street at the streetcar station, which is an amazing little coffee shop. And a guy who I have no idea who he was, he goes, "You bought the Texaco across the street, right?" Yeah. "You bought the Robinsons' old house on 160 Highway, right?" Yeah. They knew all about it. Like, "What I had for dinner last night?"
Yeah, yeah.
But
It's
as far
fun.
as Galena goes, Galena found me. I like the road trip, and I've been there lots of times. I'm not even a Kansas native, and I pulled up to take pictures while driving my '58 Ford, and there's a for sale sign in that old Texaco station. But Galena has an amazing history, and Cassandra will be able to speak to a lot of this because she's gone to the nth degree. What used to be on there, I mean, that area used to have over 30,000 residents. We found video clips back in the mining days where it's just nonstop hustle and bustle in the streets. There's trolleys, there's cars, there's the horses. I mean,
Wow.
it's got an amazing, rich history from the mining days. And then when the mining stopped and the interstates came, it kind of dried it up, and it's kind of just about 2,700 people now in Galena. All of Cherokee County is less than 20,000 people, but you've got some amazing roads coming through there. And we get to talk in Gearhead about those two roads. People come in, and I sell merchandise with the Jefferson Highway, and people say, "What's JH? That's my initials." I'm like, "Oh, well, here, that's a perfect lead-in." And I hand them the brochure, and I'm like, "Let me tell you about the Jefferson Highway." But
That's
like you're
awesome.
talking hotels too, where the Texaco sits. In 1900 was the New Century Hotel. It was a highfalutin, you get your lobster tail and stuff like that. And 39 years
Oh,
later, Texaco is there. And I assumed it was fire, but Cassandra's done some research on that. It only lasted 7 years. She's gone through the block we're putting the motor court on, and she's found maps and newspaper articles of when it was kind of vacant lots. Then it had wood structures, then it had a brick structure, then the whole block was brick. And it's just, the history that's there is really fascinating. Cassandra, if you want to chime in and tell about the
yeah,
block there
yeah,
or even the Century Hotel.
yeah. Tell us about the block. It sounds like everything's happened. It feels like you're going to have like a museum section going on.
Yeah, it is. I got my hands on old newspapers. Well, I actually went to the museum in town last time I was in town, and I was like, I want to know what gas stations were in town. And I said, I want to know what was on this block. and they told me about the Sanborn maps. I had never heard of them, but those were cool. I found from 1885. So again, so Aaron's Texaco is on the block 5th and 6th. And so, like he said, there was that hotel there, but it was just cool to see how this grew. So I looked at one from 1885, 1890, 1894, 1897, and 1900. When I hit 1900, our entire block between 3rd and 4th was all brick, 2-story. And I was like, when did this happen? So that's when I was like, I gotta find newspapers. And so then, like, I kept on hearing this Shimon Moore building. And I'm like, well, could have that been on our block? And it was. And I was like, so then I started looking up just specific addresses. And I would look up 305, what was on 305. And it's just the amount of term that came in. There was a barber, there was confectionery, a bowling alley, movie theater. I mean, it was just amazing what happened in that one building. Well, the building was actually over 3 lots. It was 305, 307, and 309, I think. And so it was just fascinating to find out. Like, even residents lived there. So there were stories about the residents. And the newspapers were they're fun you couldn't hide. And so they'd be like, oh, this person from Tulsa was in town visiting this person in this building. So it's just
talk about gossip
to see.
gossip.
Yeah, it was, but it's just like, wow. I mean,
Cassandra, we're going to have you find us where the Jefferson Highway garage was next.
I know, but this is
in
what's
there.
so cool.
They had one.
She's obviously, she understands rabbit holes like we do, right, Roger?
Yeah, that's right.
A rabbit holer. She's a rabbit holer. That sounds terrible, but you're a rabbit holer.
I am.
But isn't it cool? Isn't it cool though? That's the beauty of the highway.
Amazing. Mm-hmm.
It's so, every time we do this podcast, I get all like, I gotta get back on there. But, so all this history went down on that block. And then, looking at what you're doing as an information center, I wanted to go to Julie with Waking Miss Winifred. I love that term. Like, I feel like that's an album. Like, that should be a music album, really. Waking Miss Winifred, or a band name. Julie, do you look at that with the hotel? I know you've gone through, you've been fundraising, you're a nonprofit, right? So everybody go to hotelwinifred.com. Donations are accepted, and wanted. So you have the stages according to donations coming in to continue with, rehabbing and renovating her. But do you see in the future, which is, I think it was looking like 2026-ish, right? That when she opens, that she can be a visitor center as well. Like, kind of, obviously welcoming, guests, but do you see her as a hotel being like a way to get people to understand the area? And then I also want to talk to you about the community aspect, because it seems to me that this will add some extra life to the community with her being there, and also be a function for the community, like a space that they can use.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so just to kind of recap where we're at for the benefit of our guest on the call and for those that are listening. So to the credit of the board that's been working on this since, the beginning, which was 2015, we have spent those years securing funds to stabilize the building. The building was actually in very good shape. I'll make this a very short story. And so the work that's been done over that period of time was, securing the envelope of the building. So tuck pointing, new windows, sidewalks, the things that would internal infrastructure, securing that. Not that it was in bad repair, but it's just a matter of, refreshing that so that it's stable. And so where we're at right now, moving towards your question, is that we are now fundraising very diligently towards our first phase of construction, which would be the first floor. We're going to need to do this in phases. So the first floor would be for us to open up the hotel first floor of the second and third floor would be the hotel rooms, right? Our vision is a 9-room boutique hotel that would cater to traveling guests that are coming to the north quarter there of Northwood, Mason City, Albert Lee. So much happening in that north North Central Corridor that we would be able to draw visitors and travelers from all over, not just Northwood. But back to our focus in the near term is to do the first floor, which would be the lobby. It would be a community center where we would offer it out to the community of Northwood for having chamber meetings or business meetings. It's going to have a warming kitchen. It's going to have a couple of retail opportunities on the first floor. And then with continued funding, then we would do the second floor, which would be the first round of hotel rooms, and then the third floor, which would be, I forget which is which. I think there's 5 rooms on the second floor and 4 rooms on the third floor. But that's doing that in phases, just because of just the funding, the magnitude of the funding project to rebuild, to renovate a 3-story hotel.
Massive.
And back to your point about it, yes, our vision, and we've been very clear about this in our business plan and our financials, that it would, yes, be a hotel, but it's also an opportunity for the historic preservation of this incredible building. To the credit of Northwood, this building a lot of things could have happened to this building, and if not for Mary and her colleagues and classmates that said, hey, we want to keep this beautiful relic and historic building for Northwood, brought together a team of the original board to create this non-for-profit named Waking Miss Winifred, which I think is a brilliant name, and then has worked to put together the funds to stabilize the building. But then the vision has always been that once it's built, it would be more than just a hotel. It would be a community center. It would be, offer opportunities for people to come and gather. And then we've built because of the relationships that Mary and Steve have, because they're Northwood natives, we've got tremendous relationships with the other businesses in Northwood. They know about our project. So there'll be referrals. And a perfect example of that would be, there's on Main Street, Northwood, which happens to be on the historic registry, as Steve mentioned. There's restaurants, there's a gift shop, there's a bridal boutique, there's a brewery, and the main thing that we're excited about is that there recently was launched a event center where they host weddings and events such as graduations or celebrations, birthdays. And guess what? We'll have a relationship with that event center where, hey, there's a party coming into town. It's a wedding party. Guess what? There's a 9-room boutique hotel just literally 2 blocks down the street where it can be a total package of here's the rooms, here's the event center, et cetera. So we really are excited about the fact that there would just be this ecosystem of continuity of us being an ideal complement to what already exists in Northwood. And I give Northwood and its leadership and its residents a lot of credit for they have really transformed this downtown over the last 5 to 6 years. A lot of small towns in Iowa, that's not been the case, but there's been a lot of effort, visionaries like Mary, like Steve, like others on the board to say, you know what, we've got a great little downtown. Let's do something with it. And this hotel, I think, is a perfect complement to that. Or we think that.
It's like a beacon.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that, as you know very well, Lisa, we have our Historic Lodging Association, and this is a perfect facility for that. I mean, it's just perfect for that, for what we're trying to do for that, is we are working to create a trip where you can take the whole route and stay at historic lodging all the way. And obviously, when the Petrol Motor Court gets going, that'll be another great stop right on the route.
Oh my gosh. But this is that diversity, right, that we're talking about, of these different experiences.
That's right.
And, I just think I love what you're saying, Julie, about everyone working together as a community. And that's, travelers want to feel part of the community when they get there.
Yes.
They want something authentic, new, and historic all at the same time. And when you do what you're doing with this renovation, it's keeping the integrity of the town and giving it pride that has been there for years. But like everyone can go, oh, it's like we cleaned off this beautiful bright light and now the light is shining. It got dusty for a little bit, but we cleaned it off and here it's ready to roll. And, it'll be like the beacon, of the town. And I think that's an important thing for the community. But travelers notice when places have pride, when things are built. Like I think Erin and Cassandra, what you're doing too, you're giving them some color to the town too, right? Because when you look at retro, mid-century stuff, you're like, yeah, let's have some color, let's have some brightness, let's put some history to it. Does anybody here have the same sickness I have of watching Antique Roadshow and stuff like that? Does anybody else suffer from this disease? I just want to
Yes,
know.
I do.
Okay. I want to hang out with you because I yell at the TV. It's a sport now, but this is the thing is, like mid-modern, and you look at that time frame, and then you look at the time of when Miss Winifred was, birthed. Like as we move forward and communities start, like we travel the country full time and we see what happens, and it's kind of places lose their integrity if you don't do these kinds of projects, if you don't restore the historic, parts, if you don't put in the mid-modern century vibe and keep that restored and that vibe, right? There's a vibe. People travel by vibes, not just let's go here. It's about ooh.
I got a couple of questions for Aaron.
Go ahead. Let Aaron go real quick and then go for it.
If you don't have that uniqueness, that bringing back the history or something in the theme of what once was, every town's the same. You roll into town, there's an Applebee's, there's a Walmart, there's a Dollar General. What's in the next town?
Who cares?
Yeah, you gotta have something unique, and you gotta have something fun to bring back those memories.
Aaron, go back to your phone. You're going away. Come back.
Sorry, how's this?
Okay,
Good.
yeah. So no Applebee's. Okay, go from there.
Well, each town it's a cookie cutter of the next one anymore. It's all corporate America. And we need the stuff like this.
Yeah. And it's fun. And it's, we right now there's such a huge push on what's going on for sustainable tourism. And that means about the environment, right? But it also means about preserving history and local businesses. And as we travel, there's been a lot of, we all know what happens with tornadoes, hurricanes, fires, all of that. And the only way to really give back, yes, there's big funds and fundraisers and stuff, is to actually be tourists once things have gotten to the point where our town can welcome you back. And pretty much that's pretty quickly, depending, right? And depending. Going back as a tourist that is kind, patient, light-footed, don't throw your trash around, all that kind of stuff. You go in as a responsible traveler. When you go and you put your money into a local business, that money goes directly into that community. It helps pay for schooling. It pays for parks. You're talking about that beautiful park that you have in Northwood. Well, that comes from, hey, tourism as well. Tourism brings in fresh money into a town. This is why the highway was invented in the first place, right? Was created, right? Isn't that right, Roger?
That's definitely part of it for sure. And
Yes.
Aaron's unique being on Route 66. He sees international tourists from all over the world come in to Gearhead, and he has that iconic bathroom, and see we haven't talked about the giant he has outside.
He has a giant.
Yeah, he has a giant.
And it's not in the bathroom, so you can be safe.
No, it's not in the bathroom. But I'm curious on his perspective with all these internationals coming through. What experience are they looking for on these trips like this? Being firsthand and witnessing these people coming into your place, what are they looking for? What are they searching for in America on these Route 66 or the historic highways of America?
What I think most international travelers is what we've kind of lost is that post-war America, the American family road trip, the neon lights, the traveling. I mean, you just think about what the world was in the 1950s. I mean, really, America was on top of the world in the 1950s. I mean, cars were gorgeous. They had more chrome than you know what to do with. And it's Coca-Cola, the Marlboro Man, unfortunately. It's Harley-Davidson, it's Levi's. That is what these international travelers are finding is that post-war America. Even if they were born in 1990 themselves, there's still that draw and that lure of the 1950s America.
Yeah. And that I've talked about that on the show before. Roger, with our friends that come from Holland over every year to document neon signs because they're going away, and they're like, they want us as Americans to get get back to work and put it back in place. They want us. They want what you're doing, Aaron and Cassandra. They want that. They were like, that's part of your history. That's part of travel legacy, tourism legacy. I love what's going on at Waking, Miss Winifred, because that is tourism legacy. Salespeople are part of tourism and travel. And, I so appreciate that. Oh my gosh, that story of the salespeople it means everything because, I've been part of that, and you really, it is like you're home away from home. And that's when
Well, it goes
have
back
the
to the
community.
stories that I've said before many times. When in discovering this route, traveling this route, every community has a story. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's harder to find than others, but every one of them I've ever looked at closely, there's some interesting person that was there or something. I mean, there's just amazing, and both these communities are two that have that, and these two folks and their passion are helping embrace that and bring
Mm.
back that to these communities. And
Mm.
yeah, we got before you definitely need to ask Aaron about his giant at some point in time.
Yeah, yeah. Aaron, I know you were wanting to say something there too.
Well, before I talk about the giant, I was just going to say, with the old hotels, you talk about the travelers, or the traveling salesman would go down to, the hotel bar, the lobby, and they would talk and, hang out and discuss things with each other. And the old motels along the byways of America, under the neon signs around the swimming pool, people would gather and talk. And we've lost that. You go to Holiday Inn Express, you disappear into your room, and you don't talk to another traveler. And both what you guys are doing with the hotel and what we're going to do, I mean, with each cabin themed after an old gas station, each one's going to have signage, and each one's going to have neon. You'll be able to come there and sit underneath the Petrichor
Sweet.
neon sign and look at 10
No.
different cabins, neon on every single one of them for their brand.
Do you know how we met our friends that do the photography for neon signs? At a historic motel in Yuma, Arizona, which was a motor court hotel. And they ended up buying up all these old motels. And so they owned 3 blocks of hotel rooms, 115 rooms at the end of the day.
Wow.
2 swimming pools. Yeah. And we did a lot of work with them. They both retired and passed as well. And we sat outside our hotel room because they had the thought, and even where we're recording right now from, this hotel is a motel because we like it because we travel full time. So I want my car out my door so I don't have to unload everything, and I want to see my car. And so that's the same reason of these motels, right? And so we met them sitting outside our motel room because it was nice and sunny. Yuma's the sunniest place on earth. And we're having our little wine time, and they came up. They were the room next to us, and they're like, "Hey, it's my birthday. Do you want some tres leche cake?" And we're like, "What?" And they're, from Denmark. And next thing you know, we are friends with the same musicians and stuff. And we've been like friends ever since, and seen each other in Tucson and Nashville, you name it. And this started in a motel because there were chairs outside where people could connect,
Yep.
just like when they were talking about Waking Miss Winifred, having that card table. Oh my gosh, it makes my heart. When you go into one of those other hotels, you're closed off. And during COVID, those hotels died because they were closed off and didn't have space for people to be human. It's like, go into your box. And I'm not knocking these hotels. I'm really not. So please, everyone who has these hotels, we stay in them. We love you. You do good stuff, and they're needed. But this is when you talk about someone wanting the authentic experience of a place, that is a historic hotel. It's, go to RV park or something, because then you're out in nature, campground, or it's a motel, man. That's it. Like that's your authentic experience. Some Airbnb things too, but like some cities are getting overrun with those too, and ruining their housing. So that's a whole other show. But what you're doing with the hotel and the motel, just as our experience, that is authentic travel. Giant, you've got to talk about the Giant, otherwise everyone's going to get mad.
So back in the day, the giant mufflermen were kind of scattered all around America. And Texaco had what was called the Big Friend. It was a little bit bigger than normal mufflermen. He was waving, and then they had a whole marketing thing about your big friend. Trust your car to the man that wears the star. And you'd have the giant in the commercials lean over and look at your car. Well, they had these giant fiberglass mufflermen, and they had about 300 of them. And they were ordered to be destroyed. And all but 6 were destroyed.
What?
So obviously it's quite expensive to get your hands on an original one of those.
Yeah.
So I got a hold of a guy that makes them now, Mark Klein with Enchanted Castle Studios out in Virginia. And he had the molds for the lumberjack style muffler man and the Second Amendment cowboy there in Amarillo, Texas. The Second Amendment cowboy is kind of more straight-laced, stand upright, kind of crease in your pants, kind of like the Texaco Big Friend was. But we like the head of the other one better. So we took the head from the lumberjack and the body and torso from the Second Amendment cowboy. We made one hand waving like the Texaco Big Friend was, and then we had a wrench put in the other hand like he's holding this adjustable wrench. And we did that because I have a repurposed big boy statue that's holding tires that were on my 58 Ford. I've got a Betty Boop that I call my Rockabetty, the Texaco girl, and on her tray she's holding oil cans for cars, boats, and airplanes. So we thought it was fitting to have a wrench in our giant muffler man. And his name is Big A because I'm Aaron, and somehow, I don't know how, Cassandra may be able to tell you, but he ended up with a white goatee and white sideburns like me. I don't know how that happened.
Well, I love this. Cassandra, do you see the motor court becoming a wedding destination?
I think it's going to be an instant iconic place. Yeah, I could see that happening, a wedding happening there.
Those
That
little
would
ones,
be,
because a lot of people have gone to
yeah,
little weddings now.
yeah.
And
And we're putting 2 other buildings on the property. One is going to be it's going to be a laundry facility, but we're simulating a auto parts store. And then the other one's going to be a dealership. And between Aaron and I, we have quite a few old cars, and we want to display some of them. So we're going to have a 3-bay garage there. And so we envision, I think, that these cars can be pulled out. I mean, there'll be ones that we may drive down the road and everything, and we can pull them out, and someone could rent that facility and have a banquet, have a wedding in that spot. So utilize the property for multiple uses.
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And Julie, you were talking about, waking Miss Winifred, that will be, you'll be able to work with the wedding venue in town. And so I see, like, we need to do a Getting Hitched show, Roger. Highway Hitchins,
Oh, I like
come
that.
on. I like that too,
Yeah,
because
we've already talked about
I'm
this.
ordained.
The subjects will never end. They never
I
will.
know.
So,
I know. I wanted to say thank you all for being here, and I want to go around the room and just, when you think of one word about your projects being on the Jefferson Highway, just one word or a few, you can do more than one. What is one word that, you want the audience and to understand about what you're doing and to just kind of entice them to get their butts out there? So I want to go around the room, and then Roger, you got to give a update on the conference. So let's have Roger do that first, so everyone can think of their word. Roger, conference is
yes.
happening soon. Nancy and I are going to be there.
The
Woo!
planning is well underway, and things are going, continuing to evolve. But we're excited about to be in McAllister, Oklahoma, from Wednesday, June 4th to June 7th. And we're excited that Lisa and Nancy are going to be there.
Yay. We're excited.
And part of our programming to unveil or talk about the upcoming digital guide. But we've already had registrations already available on our website. We've already had our registrations from Manitoba, California, I believe Ohio, and Tennessee, I believe, Louisiana. So it's already starting to come in, and so we're going to have another great conference. We're hoping to have a record-breaking attendance if all goes according to plan. And yes, we are going to do our third year in a row. We're going to do a pre-conference sociability caravan. That's going to start on Monday, the 2nd in Joplin, and we're going to immediately
Oh,
travel
wow.
to what community we're going to travel to first, right off the bat, is Galena. And so we're going to get to
Awesome.
spend some time with Aaron, and also the new hot rod hangout that's being developed there. We're excited to be there. And then we'll be spending the night in Baxter Springs, Kansas, at the Little Brick Inn there. That's where we're designated. And then that next morning, we'll be heading right into the Indian Territory of Oklahoma. And we have some great stops available there. We'll be having lunch at our friends that you know well, Lisa, the Highway Cafe
Oh,
in
yes, the
Bonita.
burger. They have the
Yeah,
Jefferson Highway
we might
burger.
have some Jefferson Highway burgers that day. I don't. We'll see. And then we'll be going on. We're going to spend we're going to be at the Sequoia State Lodge on Lake Fort Gibson for the night
Wow.
after, right on the water. And that'll be a really unique, fun place, I think. We might even have a campfire too out there, which we're going to have some
Ooh,
cabins around.
s'mores.
And then we're going to head
Yeah.
on to down. And we've talked about this. I'm going to give a special tour of the Younger's Bend, the home of Belle Starr, and where her grave is part of the
Wow.
tour down there, and something I know quite a
Wow.
bit about. So we're going to be going into that, and then we'll be making it into Old Town McAllister that afternoon, and then all the fun begins with the bus tour the next day, and a great lineup of speakers. And we have a special program we're working on right now. It's going to be something really fun. We may have our Jefferson Highway murder mystery uh, program there for us. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah,
So
yeah.
anyway, you can
Woo.
sign up today. We'd love to have you. There's no fee to be on the caravan. We invite people to come out for that. Just let us know by emailing us at info@jeffersonhighway.org. We would appreciate that. There also is a free event link you can click on. We'll keep you in our deal. But we're excited, Lisa, and we can't wait to have you part of our conference this year.
Oh, Nancy and I are looking forward to it finally happening. And Oklahoma is sweet, man. It's a amazing state. We've got to travel it on the highway before, and I know that we went through Galena and Northwood, and now I'm kicking myself, right, as we do this show. I'm like, dang it, why didn't we know about you all sooner, But we end up on crazy road trips, Nancy and I, and Oklahoma was one of those detours, right, where Nancy and I ended up on a detour, and it was like we went to Lake Eufaula, Chakota. Did I say it right yet? Chakota?
You got it, Shakota.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning. Um, and we went up to the battlefield. Is Honey Springs? Is that where
Honey
we were?
Springs. Uh-huh.
Oh, that's in crazy history, man. You guys have to all do that. We got to meet Roger at the tourist camp in Skokie. Very recommended to do that. So it's a really amazing. I mean, when you get on the highway, you're going to become addicted. I'm just saying, it's a good addiction. That's a
Well,
happy
our
one.
caravans are so much fun because you're in with people that you meet from all over the country. We've got people coming from on the caravan already ready to go from Kentucky, and the folks from Winnipeg are going to do the caravan. So just seeing these people talking
Wow.
about the route, being together for 2 or 3 days, and then into
Yeah.
the conference is just a lot of fun.
And he's coming up from Winnipeg, right? So the whole highway.
Derek is coming to see
Oh,
us.
Derek. Sorry, I don't know why I got another name
Yes,
swirled
he is
around
coming.
there. It's okay because I keep calling Roger all the time, and he keeps going, "Why are you calling me Robert?" I said, "Because I'm talking to Roger too." I do it all the time. Give everybody a new name. But let's close off with that word for the Jefferson Highway when you think about what you're doing. So, Mary, tell us about what is your word when you think about Hotel Winifred and also Northwood, Iowa on the highway.
Discover.
Ah, yes. See, you go down rabbit holes too, don't you? Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes.
What about you, Steve?
I think charm because it's
Ah,
It's beautiful and idyllic, and both the highway, driving down the highway in your convertible, and then going through all these small towns and seeing all these beautiful things that we've talked about tonight.
Mm. Mine is ice cream, but anyway, I'm just kidding. But no, I'm not.
It's
Julie,
not too far away in Mason City where they have the ice cream
see?
place.
Yeah, Bird Souls, I think it is.
Bird Souls,
Yeah,
right on the
Bird
highway.
Souls.
Right on the
yes,
highway.
Right on the highway.
See, I knew it. I knew it. Julie, what's your word? Please don't let it be food because I'm in trouble on that. Winter has made me warm. Let's put it that way.
So my word is timeless. This hotel has beautiful historic charm that it did. When you walk in that building today, you feel like you're in a building that was built in 1913, and we will maintain that integrity. So I'm going to say timeless.
I love that because timeless is community support and everyone coming together for this hotel, so it stays that way. I love that. Okay, so Cassandra, rabbit hole is your word, but no, I'm just kidding. What is your word?
It's nostalgic. It's probably what Aaron was going to say, though, huh?
Haha. What's your so Aaron? What is your word?
It's time travel and dreams. When you take a road trip on a historic road, you're traveling back in time and seeing how things used to be. And it's dreams because when you follow your dream to kind of create or restore or save something, that's something not everybody does, is follow their dreams. So those are my words.
Awesome. Roger, you got to give your word. You're the president.
I kind of said that for all these people. They're passionate about what they do. They do. They have. This group in Northwood. I've been involved in a lot of projects in my community and stuff over the years, but this project has been going on for many years. But they're not letting it die. They're keeping it going, and different people getting involved, and the community has a passion for this. It wouldn't exist, and it wouldn't have existed. Gearhead Curios and what they're trying to do at the motor court, that wouldn't even be there if they didn't have a passion about what they're doing. And I love people that have passion and see things like this because it is taking a leap out there to do this type of stuff.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, the energies, that highway's alive, man.
Yes,
it's alive. Well, thank you all so much for joining us on another episode of Big Blend Radio's Jefferson Highway Show with the Jefferson Highway Association. Don't forget, go to jeffersonhighway.org. You can become a member as an individual traveler who just wants to support the movement and be part of the conversation, part of the travels. And you can also join as a destination. If you're you could have a sign, you can do all kinds of things. So if you're a business or in the tourism capacity on this highway from Winnipeg to New Orleans and back, check it out. Go to jeffersonhighway.org. Also, again, for the hotel, it's hotelwinnifred.com, and go to Gearhead Curios and Petrol Motor Court on Facebook to keep up with them. All the links are in the episode notes. Thank you all. Have fun and safe travels.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you for joining us here on the Big Blend Radio Jefferson Highway Show. The show airs every fourth Thursday, and we encourage you to go to jeffersonhighway.org to learn more about the Jefferson Highway Association or even become a member. You can also dig into the history of the highway and share travel notes with friends at the Jefferson Highway Association Facebook group. Follow our shows at bigblendradio.com. Happy travels!